You have a role in this family. And every time you come into a situation, every time you come into a relationship, you're going to do one of two things. You're either going to contribute to or contaminate the situation. Resist all the noise, examine your personal truth, examine your family's collective personal truth, and then come up with an action-oriented plan. Well, hello, and welcome to the Dr. Phil podcast. I am talking to you about a lot of things really close to you. 2 times ago, I was talking to you about you. And if you missed that episode, then I want you to go back and look at it. Then the next time we talked about meritocracy, that's not an abstract idea and how it's so important to identify consequential knowledge in your own life. And that's not what most people think it is. But we talked about how to develop consequential knowledge in your life and how to use it. And if you missed that episode, if I do say so myself, that's really important given where this world is in this day and time. I'm not making the rules, I'm just telling you the truth about where they are. I want to talk to you today about something that is critically important to you and to this country, and that's family. I want to talk to you about your family. And if you're thinking, oh, no, I can skip this one, we're fine. No, don't skip this one. I promise you, when we're done, you'll be glad you did not. Family is important to you because it's your base of operations. I told you last time, old sayings get to be old sayings because they're profound. And one of the ones I talked about was blood is thicker than water. Family unit is the backbone of this country. It's the backbone for you, and it's the backbone of this country. And I mean that because if we keep our family strong, if we're there for each other, our nuclear family, our extended family, then we're going to survive and thrive as a nation. And you're going to survive and thrive as an individual. And if not, who knows what's going to happen? There was a document intercepted in the 60s from the Soviet Union that talked about how to undermine and defeat the United States of America. And it basically said, we've got to get them to turn on each other. And the best way we can do this long term is to confuse their children, to confuse their families, to basically undermine the solidarity of the society. Their conclusion was, it's already happening. Their conclusion was, we're already there. We don't want that to be true. I want to inoculate you against that kind of problem. I want to inoculate you against feeling adrift. The number one need in all people is acceptance. Number one fear in all people is rejection. Now, there are a lot of synonyms for acceptance. I agree with that. Success would be a synonym for acceptance. Why? Because if you are offering something to the world, you have a business, you have a product, you have something that you're offering to the world, and they like it and they buy it. You're a performer, they come to see your show. You have a bicycle shop, they bring their bicycles to you to get fixed. Then they're saluting you. They're accepting what you have to offer. That's acceptance. If you have something to offer and nobody wants it, that's rejection. So failure is a synonym with rejection. So there are synonyms for it, but fundamentally, in its most broad sense, the number one needs acceptance, the number one fear is rejection. Think about that in your own life. What has caused you pain in your life? And I'll bet you it boils down to when you've been rejected, you've failed to be accepted somewhere. Everybody wants to belong in some way, somewhere, where they feel like they have roots, they feel like they have a base. And I promise you it starts with your family. I wrote a book in 2004. It was called Family First, Your Step-by-Step Plan for Creating a Phenomenal Family. In that book, I said that family in America was under attack. Boy, oh boy, how profound was that? Little did I know how much it was going to come under attack in years to come. That was 21 years ago that I wrote that book. It has just gotten worse. And when I say I want to talk to you about family, I don't want to talk about it theoretically. I want to talk about it practically. I want to talk to you about your family values, your family practices, your family beliefs, your goals, and I want to do it in an action-oriented kind of way. I have some questions for you, and I want you to really think about this. And you may want to write some of these things down, and the things that I'm going to ask you to write down are going to be on the website. So if you're driving now or you're out walking and you can't write these things down, know the things I'm going to ask you to write down will be on the website for the Dr. Phil podcast, so you can go back and look at them. The first thing I'm going to ask you is, do you have a family philosophy? What are the beliefs, values, practices that define your family? Can you articulate them? I mean, do you already know them? And if you have to think about them and struggle to get to them, then they need work. Do you know what your family name stands for? And let me give you an example of this. I can remember one time when our oldest son Jay was maybe 10 or 11 years old, and his little brother Jordan was 3. We were living here in Dallas, and he had a friend over playing, and Jordan was wanting to play with him, of course. Jordan had to go to the bathroom, so he ran into the house to go to the bathroom, and Jay's friend said, "Quick, while he's gone, let's run and hide." And Jay said, "Well, no, why would we do that?" He said, "Well, we get rid of him that way." And he said, "Well, no, I don't want to get rid of him. Why would we do that?" He said, "Well, we could just get rid of him. He wouldn't know where we were." And Jay said, "No, I'm not going to do that. We don't do that in our family." And his friend looked at him kind of strange. And he said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Well, we just don't do that in our family." And I was inside the house, but it was really nice out. We had the windows open. And I could hear this going on outside. And I don't think I've ever been as proud of him as I was that day. He said, "We just don't do that in our family." And that was one of those moments where I realized that our family meant something, that our family name stood for something. Here was this kid, 10 years old or something, and it wasn't like a big deal, but it was to him at the time, and it was to me hearing him say it, that the McGraw name, our values, our beliefs, were defined enough that they stood for something, and he said, "No, we just don't do that." What are your values in your family? We make certain life decisions, and there's a generational legacy that gets passed along from one generation to another. And some of those generational legacies are very positive, like work ethic, and loyalty, and togetherness, and support. And some of them are very toxic. And I had some of both in my family. My father was a really chaotic and sometimes violent alcoholic. I had sisters that were pretty unstable, 2 of the 3. Those were generational legacies that I didn't want to pass on. I didn't want to carry them on to my nuclear family. But to know that, you have to really stop and think about it, and it's important that you write those things down, because just thinking about them, they're fleeting and you get distracted. But if you write them down, if you journal these things and write them down, they make a difference. I used to sleep terribly, but I found Beam's Dream Powder, a science-backed, healthy nighttime blend packed with ingredients shown to improve sleep. Beam is founded in America and run by people who share our values of hard work. Their Dream Powder is made with a powerful blend of all-natural ingredients: reishi, magnesium, L-theanine, apigenin, and melatonin. Here's the deal. Beam is giving my listeners the ultimate Patriot discount of up to 40% off. Try their best sleeping Dream Powder and get up to 40% off for a limited time. Go to shopbeam.com/Dr. Phil and use code Dr. Phil at checkout. That's shopbeam.com/Dr. Phil and use code Dr. Phil for up to 40% off. Sleep better, wake up stronger, and show up ready for your family, your work, and your country. Because when you're well rested, you're unstoppable. And this country needs more people like that. When I say I want to talk to you about your family, you may have never asked yourself these questions, but what are your family values? What's important to you as a collective personality that is your family? Everybody will be different. Everybody will value different things, but there will be some common values. What are they? Are you a Christian family? Are you a spiritual family? Where do y'all stand on that? Do you honor your mother and father? What are your beliefs about how you interact with the world? Are you positive? Are you well-groomed? Do you treat your house with dignity? Is the yard mowed? Are the flower beds cleared? Do you keep your cars clean? When people come to your house, do you treat them with dignity and respect? Do you treat each other with dignity and respect? Do you respect each other's boundaries? Everybody in the family has a role. Do you know what everybody's role is? Are they healthy roles? Are they unhealthy roles? And if you're the leader of the family, then I'm going to ask that you put your family, for the time it's necessary to do some of the things that we're talking about today, that you put your family on project status. Project status. When I talked to you a few weeks ago, I said, be who you are on purpose and own it. Be who you are and be who you are on purpose. Don't just react to the world. Don't just stumble into some role. Choose who you are, do it on purpose, and then stand up and own that choice. I'm saying the same thing about your family. Put it on project status, not just, hey, I'm going to kind of drift into this. If your family needs shaping up, cleaning up, refinement, then put it on project status. And that's going to require you to say, all right, before I say anything to another member of my family, I'm going to sit down and ask myself some questions. What do we value? Do we value harmony? Do we live in chaos? Then that goes on a to-do list. What are our practices? Do we support one another in the things that we care about? Do we take the time to support one another? If I've got kids, do I go to their practices, to their games? Do I go to their piano recitals? Do I take the time to know where they are all the time? If they spend the night, do I have a practice of calling the parents of where they're going to spend the night? Do I meet those parents? Do we worship as a family together? What are the things that as a family I would want to do if I was doing a good job as a mother or a father? If I was a son or a daughter, what would I want to engage my parents in doing? If I'm a brother or a sister, what do I need to do to improve the bond with my siblings? What practices do I need to improve on? What are the beliefs that we hold? Do we believe family's important? Do we believe in investing time in one another? What are the goals for our family? Do we want to have long-term relationships, or is my goal to get away from these people as fast as I can and go as far as possible? Whatever it is, you need to decide and articulate that, write it down. And what does your family name stand for? When people speak the name of your family, what does it stand for? Are you the people in town that folks want to stay away from or want to include? Are you worried about any of that? What does your name stand for? Because it's what you do, not what you say, that defines you. Values, practices, beliefs, goals. What do you stand for? It's the greatest gift that you can give yourself and your kids, because they will look back on this. And do you have family meetings? And you say, oh, now, okay, now you're getting, what is this, Ozzie and Harriet time? No, it's not Ozzie and Harriet time, but let me tell you something. You're probably too young to even know who that is, but that used to be a really nerdy family that was on TV. But I'm talking about, do you actually take time to have meals together? Do you ever sit down in one room and say, hey, let's sit down and talk about how we're doing as a family? And the stranger that feels, the more awkward that feels, then the more likely you need to do it. Because if it feels strange to sit down as a family group and check in with everybody and see how everybody's doing, the more you need to do it. Because if it feels awkward, you're way away from where you need to be. You're way, way, way away from where you need to be. Christmas and Thanksgiving don't cover it. Everybody needs to put down their phones, turn off their computers, turn off the television, and just sit down and have a conversation. Everybody tell us how you're doing. What's going on in your life? What would you like to talk about? Is there something around here you'd like to see changed? Is there something you would like to see added? There are some questions you can ask. Everybody can answer 3 questions that are real simple. You can just go around the circle. Question number 1, what I wish this family would stop doing because it drives me crazy is, and everybody can go around the circle and answer that question. And then you can go around and say, what I wish this family would start doing because I would really value it is, and go around the circle and everybody answer that question. And then third, what I hope this family continues to do because I value it so much, and have everybody in the family answer all 3 of those questions. What I wish this family would stop doing because it drives me nutty. What I wish this family would start doing because I need it. And what I hope this family continues doing because I value it. Just those 3 ice-breaking questions will give you a start like you won't believe to get a grip on where your family is, and it'll spark conversation like you won't believe. I promise you it will. And let me ask you this, which will give you a place to start. What do you remember most from your parents? What did they give you? What do you remember most that they contributed to you and your upbringing? Was it love, caring, support, guidance, wisdom? What did they do to contaminate the most? What kind of role models were they for you? And it's not always dramatic. It may be that they stood up strong against certain things, but it may just be simply that maybe your dad worked in a job he didn't like, and he came home every day, kind of shoulders slumps. How'd it go? Oh, just a grind. Hate that job. What was he modeling? He was modeling that he sold out for something he didn't love, he didn't like, he didn't want to do. Did he model for you that that's what you do? You grow up, work hard, take a job, you just survive, and come home gray and worn out at the end of the day. Was that the role model that you had? And are you emulating that? What kind of role model did you have? Did they have an emotionally barren relationship, or was it full of love and support? Ask yourself what kind of role model you were exposed to. Did they fight? Did they love and support? What was it? Because they wrote on the slate of who you are. You can't change that now, but you can be aware of it. And of course, the immediate question that follows on is, what kind of role model are you being? You may feel like kids don't listen to you, but I promise you, they are always watching. And it can be subtle. You and your spouse may be having a problem, some tension. They just pay attention to how hard you set down your coffee cup in the morning. And they notice that, oh, you kind of slammed that down a little bit. They may roll their eyes when you're talking, but they're always watching. They always see the behavior. So what kind of role model were your parents? What kind of role model are you being? And then the question becomes, what generational legacy did you carry forward? And what kind of generational legacy are you putting on your children? Is it a burden or a gift? And to do that, you have to make a list. What is the generational legacy of my family? What did they bring forward from their parents? And what did they push on to you? And you have the choice to break the chain. That's all I'm saying. I think back to my family, particularly on my mother's side. Her father, my grandparents, I loved them both on my mother's side. He was 6'10" or 11, giant of a man. Because think about it, he was born around the 1900s. People weren't that tall then. And his wife, my grandmother, was maybe 4'11". So here you had this giant of a man and this tiny little woman was his wife. And I'm 6'4" and Robin's 5'2". I'll never forget when my grandmother met Robin before we were married. She looked at my mother and said, "What's he want with that little old thing?" And here she was, married to somebody that was over 2 feet taller than her. You know, the older they get, the less they filter. My grandfather got drunk every Saturday night. And he was always, he got drunk, he's going to pull out his pocket knife, he's going to stab somebody. And sure enough, my mother married somebody that got drunk all the time and got chaotic and violent. So I mean, it's just, it was just a mirror of the generations. And I thought, no, I'm not carrying that on forward. So I haven't had a drink in 60 years, just chose not to do it. I made a choice. You can make a choice. Not holding myself up as some paragon of family model, I'm just using that as an example. What is yours? You need to ask yourself, so what's the generational legacy? Write down the positives, write down the negatives. You don't have to carry forward the ones you don't want. What do you want to carry forward? What do you want to leave behind? Including genetic predispositions. Because my father was an alcoholic, I'm genetically predisposed to it. And so are my boys. And they've never seen me take a drink. So I have to remind them, hey, you've never seen me take a drink, but don't get lulled to sleep. You're genetically predisposed to having a problem with alcohol. So I remind them every year, hey, you've never seen it, but you are genetically predisposed to it, so be careful. I remind them at least annually. Unfortunately, neither of them have a big interest in it, but I have reminded them all their lives that they're genetically predisposed to it. So you have to think about genetics, you have to think about environment, you have to think about learning history. So ask yourselves, what am I carrying forward? Is it what I want to? And you have the right to make a choice, but you have to do it consciously. It's a conscious choice. And you do this on purpose. You know, I said be who you are on purpose. Write your family script on purpose as well. And this includes a lot of things. What's your social station? Is it where you want to be? Do you have momentum? Do you have expectations? What are the challenges you set forth? What are the goals you set to overcome? My family grew up poor. I didn't have to stay in that station. How about you? It can do with money, it can do with spirituality, it can do with behavior and conduct. But if you don't consciously ask these questions, and our schools don't prepare us for this, our schools don't talk to us about these things. So we have to talk to ourselves about these things. So I want you to know the questions to ask, the patterns to change. Those are the things that you need to know. What do I want to keep? What do I want to change? And then you have to say, how do I create alternate pathways concerning money and health and weight and education, relationships, drugs, alcohol, everything. Mental health, psychological adjustments, all of those things are very, very important. Homeowners, when's the last time you checked on your home title? If your answer is never, then this is for you. Scammers are stealing titles and your equity is the target. Criminals forge your signature and just like that, your home title can be transferred out of your name. That's why I partnered with Home Title Lock, so you can find out today if you're already a victim. Use my promo code Phil at HometitleLock.com and you'll get a free title history report. Plus, you'll get a free trial of their $1 million triple lock protection. That's 24/7 monitoring of your title, urgent alerts to any changes, and if fraud does happen, they'll spend up to $1 million to fix it. That's HometitleLock.com, promo code Phil. And this requires problem solving. And in order to do that, you have to believe in yourself. Think about that for a second. Do you believe that as a leader in your family, as a catalyst for your family, do you think you have the skill and ability to bring about change? And if you don't, you have to ask yourself, why not? What is it that I'm not bringing to the situation that will create that change? It boils down to self-esteem, and it boils down to your personal truth. Now, if you know me at all, if you've listened to me for any time at all, you know that I believe we all have a personal truth. And that personal truth is not static. It's dynamic. It changes across time. So I'm going to give just a very brief refresher on what I mean by personal truth. And very simply put, it's what we think, feel, and believe about yourself in the most unvarnished possible way. No social mask, we're not putting our best foot forward, we're not kicking ourselves, it's just the reality. What do we truly believe about who we are? Why is that so important? Because we generate the results in life we think we deserve. If you think you're a second-class citizen, if you think you're not as smart as everybody else, if you think you don't deserve what you see other people seemingly enjoying in their lives, and you generate the results in life you think you deserve, then it stands to reason you're going to generate second-class results. If you look at another family, maybe they're out in the park on a Saturday afternoon, or maybe they're at the mall and they're walking along and they're laughing and talking and cutting up among themselves, and you think, wow, that looks like a really happy family. But that's for other people. That's not for me. We have toxicity in our family. We have a mentally ill person in our family. We're poor in our family. We have strife in our family. We don't deserve what that family is showing. Now, you compare yourself to them, but you don't really know what their personal truth is. They may be the most screwed up bunch in the whole town, but when they put on their social mask, they go out and laugh and talk and they seem healthy. May not be the case, but we're not worried about them right now. We worry about them later. We want everybody to be happy. We want everybody to be safe. We want everybody to have a good future. But right now, we're talking about you and your family. And trust me when I tell you, it's not selfish to put yourself and your family at the top of the list. You may think, well, now wait a minute. We have to care about others. Of course you do, but I'm going to tell you why it's not important for you to put yourself at the top of the list at least some of the time, and really a lot of the time. There are reasons that that's okay. There's reasons that that's not selfish. Number one reason is you can't give away what you don't have. If you don't love yourself, it's real hard for you to give that away to somebody else. If you don't love who you are, if you don't feel good about who you are, it's real hard for you to help somebody else feel good about who they are. And if you don't minister to yourself, if you don't nurture yourself, if all you ever do is give to somebody else, which you might think, oh, wow, that's a great thing to do. That's a great way to be. Well, maybe so if we're looking for a martyr, but the truth is we're not looking for a martyr. If you don't take care of you, you're going to wind up emotionally bankrupt. So it's okay to take some time right now and focus on you. You're a member of this family. You're important to this family. Maybe you're the father, maybe you're the mother, maybe you're one of the kids, but you are an important member of this family. You have a role in this family. And every time you come into a situation, every time you come into a relationship, you're going to do one of two things. You're either going to contribute to or contaminate the situation. If you're pathological, if you're emotionally bankrupt, if you're depressed, if you're hurting, then you're going to bring that toxicity to the relationship and you're going to contaminate it. If you have a really bad attitude, it can be like a skunk in the room. You think, well, I'm just over here in the corner minding my own business, but if a skunk sprays anywhere in the house, what's going to happen to the whole house? It's going to permeate through every room in that house and affect everybody in that house. That's the way it is with a bad attitude. That's the way it is with pathology. It doesn't just impact the person that's experiencing it directly. It goes throughout the entire family and affects everyone. So it's not selfish for you to take care of you, because when you're hurting, it affects everybody around you. So taking care of yourself, nurturing yourself, giving to yourself has a positive effect on everyone around you. So it's not selfish. Just remember, you can't give away what you don't have. So the first thing I want you to do is say, what is my personal truth? What do I think I deserve? Because you do teach others how to treat you. And if you come in with your head down and your shoulders slumped, you're inviting people to treat you differently than if you walk into a room with your head held high, your shoulders back, and you say, you know what, I'm here and I deserve to be attended to. I deserve to be treated with dignity and respect. And Mom, Dad, if I'm talking to you right now, what are you modeling for this family? What messages are you sending out about what this family deserves? Now, they may not listen to you, but like I said, they are going to pay attention to what you do. And what are you signaling with your behavior? Are you signaling, hey, we are a top drawer family. We are a Class A family, and we deserve all the happiness in this world that we can possibly expect. You have to look at your personal truth. A family has a collective personal truth. So for absolute sure, you want to examine what you expect, what you think you deserve, and then look at your family and see how they conduct themselves. Maybe you have a slovenly family. Maybe nobody grooms themselves well. Maybe nobody cleans up after themselves. Maybe nobody takes pride in your home. And let me tell you, I've lived in places where we didn't even have money for utilities, but that didn't mean we couldn't take pride in what we did have, that we couldn't keep the place clean, that we couldn't keep things organized, that we couldn't hang our clothes up, that we couldn't pick up after ourselves. Wherever you are, whatever your station is, are you holding yourself to the highest possible standard and messaging that to the rest of the members of the family? That's what you have to ask yourself. And you have to resist the noise. Because promise you, there's always going to be somebody around that's willing to tell you that you don't get top drawer treatment. You don't get first class treatment. You don't get an opportunity to be a winner. So you have to resist that noise. They're more than happy to take a front row seat and let you go back to row 14 of the bus. Ask yourself, how are we doing? How am I doing as a role model? How am I doing as a contributor? Because supporters can be just as important as leaders. Ask yourself, how are we doing as a family? And if you can find areas that you can improve, then you have to make a plan to change it. What's my plan? How am I going to change this? How am I going to fix this? And you have to create an expectation, because I strongly believe you have to name it to claim it. You have to decide, this is what I want, and if I can't describe that, if I can't see that, if I can't describe what success is for me and my family, how will you ever know when you have it? If you don't know where you're going, you're like an unguided missile. So you've got to have a target in place. What do I want to change for my family? And what is the plan to accomplish that change? And that begins with a target. You have to envision more. That's why I say it's important to sit down and talk among yourselves. What you might think, hey, I'm getting along okay. I go to work, I kind of enjoy it. I come home, I get in my recliner, I turn on the television, I have something to eat. I'm doing okay. Well, how about your son or your daughter? How about your wife or your husband? Don't you want to hear from them? The quality of a relationship is a function of the extent to which it meets the needs of everybody involved. Everybody involved, not just you. So check around. You may think, hey, it's working for me. Well, okay, it may be working for everybody else too, but find out. Ask. Maybe they need something. Maybe they want something that they're not getting. Ask the questions and write down what everybody says. Find out what the vision is. So you're not an unguided missile. You have to name it to claim it. What do people want? And be very specific. Do they need more of your time and attention? Maybe they need more alone time. I'm not saying there's a right or wrong answer here. You just need to know what it is. You know how every home has that one spot that just calls to you all day? For me, it's my bed. Ever since I switched to Cozy Earth's bamboo sheets and bubble cuddle blanket, it's game over. Because these sheets are soft, breathable, and keep me cool all night. I sleep several degrees cooler and wake up refreshed. The bubble cuddle blanket, like a plush faux fur hug. Cozy Earth gives you a 100-night sleep trial and a 10-year warranty, because once you try it, you won't go back. Go to CozyEarth.com and use my code PHIL for up to 40% off. That's CozyEarth.com, code PHIL, because your bed shouldn't just be a place to sleep, it should be your happy place. And Cozy Earth makes that possible. I can tell you, success does leave clues. Individually and collectively, it does leave clues. And families that are successful, just like individuals, they deal with truth. They don't live lies. They don't enable one another if something is not going well. They don't have one member of the family that is really adrift. One member of the family that maybe is on drugs, but they pretend they're not. One member of the family that is really feeling marginalized, but they pretend they're not. One member of the family that seems to be drifting away, but they're not inconvenient. They don't make noise. They don't seem to have a lot of demands. So Nobody worries about it too much because they're not causing trouble. They're just quiet. Well, everything's not okay. That's not the truth. Individuals and families that win, that are successful, deal with the truth and they take action towards known outcomes. When they name what they want and they're honest with themselves about where they are and what they have and don't have, they then take action towards a known outcome. They say, here's what we want, here's what we need, and they take action. The universe rewards action, and they take action towards a known outcome. They say, here's what we want, here's what we need, and I'm taking action towards it. And people that are successful, families that are successful, share a passion. They have something that they collectively are excited about, something that they collectively are passionate about. And maybe you're listening to this and you're just a member of a family. You're not the leader of the family. You could be the one that provides passion. I think back to when I was in the 7th or 8th grade. We were so poor we couldn't pay attention. We didn't have any money. And as a result, we had no money for entertainment. Going to the movies, and back then roller skating was a big thing, going skating, that wasn't even possibly on the radar. But I was an athlete in 7th, 8th, 9th grade. And so I played team sports. And you know what? Team sports were free. You played on the 7th, 8th, or 9th grade football team or basketball team, it was free. And that was our family's entertainment. They got to come to 1, sometimes 2 games a week. That was the family's entertainment. And that was my currency. That was something I could contribute because they were very passionate about coming to those games and getting to watch me play. I had a contributing role in our family just as a family member. I wasn't the father, I wasn't the mother, I was just a kid. I was a sibling, but everybody looked forward to it. Everybody was excited about the chance to come to the games. And it was exciting. They never missed. They always wanted to come to the games. I was able to provide something the family was passionate about. It was their escape. It was their relief. So even if you're just a sibling in a family, what can you do? What's your currency? What can you present to the family? And you've got to have a belief in something that matters. If you don't, if there's nothing you care about, nothing you believe in, no purpose, then why get up in the morning? Find something that you care about, something that you believe in. And if, as a family, you can adopt a goal, you can set a goal that you share, it's something you bond over. One of the things that our family did that I thought was so very important was every year we would adopt a few families at the church that we knew when it came to Thanksgiving and Christmas, they just would be without. They didn't have the money to have a Thanksgiving dinner. They didn't have the money for a Christmas tree. They didn't have money for the children to have presents. And if someone didn't reach out and help, they would just be lost. They would be without. That was important to me because I grew up really poor. And it was such a wonderful time with our boys for Robin and I to get them involved in adopting some families that we could help during the holidays. And our kids got so excited during that time, and we never let the families know that we were doing it or who we were. And I'll never forget, there was a family behind my office building when I was in private practice, It was a single mother with two sons, and it was very obvious that they were just barely getting by. And they lived in an apartment behind a house. And we were able to talk to the homeowner, and they were willing to let us get into where they lived surreptitiously when they weren't home. And we were kind of hiding in wait until the mom and two boys left, and we weren't sure where they were going, and that added to the excitement for our kids because they had to be on the lookout. And we had everything staged, a Christmas tree already decorated with lights and ornaments and everything. And as soon as they left, we were able to race in there and set up a Christmas tree, and we had presents already wrapped, everything under the tree, because we had been studying the family. We knew how old the boys were. We knew what they seemed to like to do. So we had bicycles and games and all sorts of things, and we were able to get it in the house and put it in. And the kids were so excited, and every few minutes Robin would say, "Oh, I think they're coming." And they'd go, "Oh my gosh," they'd go hide and look, and of course they weren't coming. And it was just something that we did and shared with the kids. And we did this for years with different families. And it became part of a ritual and tradition that we did as a family. And that's something that our boys now, 20 years later, still talk about. They still talk about that. So it's very important that you develop rituals and traditions for your family. Doesn't matter what they are, but it's important that there's a rhythm to those things and that you commit to them actively. So there's something generationally that your kids will remember and that you share as a family. It doesn't have to be a big thing, and it can be 5, 6, 7 different things throughout the year. Those are things that your family can bond over. Worshiping together is important. Playing together is important. Having hobbies, things like that you do together that they will remember 10 years, 15 years, 20, 25 years. They'll remember them after mom and dad are gone. Rituals and traditions are critical glue that hold families together. And these are things that are action-oriented that you can set as goals. And I'm trying to be very specific about this, so it's not just something to think about, but things that you can actually do. And I think it's so important. So what I've talked to you about today is that family, the values, practices, beliefs are so important. And the greatest gift you can give is to be a great role model, a great contributor to your family. Resist all the noise, examine your personal truth, examine your family's collective personal truth, and then come up with an action-oriented plan to contribute to changing it for the better. And everybody's family can get better. Just make sure that the family you compare yourselves to is your own, because you have no idea what the truth is about someone else's. I'm Dr. Phil, and I thank you for listening. I'll talk to you next time.